Um, that's a good question. I guess we can just go ahead and chat about that. I can just consider this to be started already. Um, that's something I had thought about, like when you launch the game, like which plugins fire first. And like I'm kind of the opinion that having things be as predictable as possible is good generally. So right now they go in basically I think alphabetical order. Um, we could add controls for that where like users could move them around and whatnot, but part of me wonders like if that would lead us to weird situations where people have to like try to order their plugins in certain ways, to get them working correctly and stuff. And I wonder if there's a smarter way that we could do it. Like, I don't know, have some sort of, yeah, I don't really have any solutions for it yet, but part of me hopes that there's something we could do that wouldn't require people to kind of, fiddle with their plugin orders. Because it seems like if people are having to do that, then it's not a very like robust system. Um, but I could be wrong. Maybe that is okay. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, I guess we don't want situations too where people are just naming everything like AAAAA, as because that's kind of hacky in the first place. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to look at other systems if this is a problem that's come up elsewhere, like in other games that allow modding or things like that, or just like apps that allow modding. Like if plugin load order is an issue. But yeah, that does seem like not ideal. Like if people are renaming things just for technical reasons, like that's not necessarily good either. Hmm. Could be, yeah. Yeah, it could totally depend on their modding architecture, their plugin architecture, or whatever. Um, or we could add something to the plugin, just like an order number or something like that, which is like baked into the plugin. Um, but then I wonder if everyone would just want to have their plugin set at like the lowest number possible. So like my plugin gets loaded first, because then it's like not technically up to the user anymore, but it's still kind of just this weird arms race. Yeah, yeah. If we put some system in place for like an automatic order, and then just kind of encourage people to not abuse it, that could work. Like hopefully systems like that that are kind of like the honor system. Hopefully those work okay sometimes. Like one thing I was reading about recently was on like iPhones, Apple just added some new API to for like notifications, like where notifications can mark themselves as like important or not important, and like that system only works if like only actually important notifications are marked as important. Like if apps start just being like, hey, I want my notification to always be seen, I'm just going to mark all mine as important, then it's like the whole system falls apart and the whole thing that doesn't work. But yeah, if there's like at least a little bit of like an honor system where actually only important things got marked important, then that those could float to the top or whatever. I don't know how it's set up, but it's sort of a similar thing here where yeah, if we do some sort of like load order thing, as long as people don't abuse it, maybe it would be okay. Okay, interesting. Huh. Yeah, we don't like in our case we don't really track dependencies. I mean, it's all just about like Python modules being present. Like tracking all that automatically would be difficult. Though that gets into other topics, like if we get to a point where people can, like one-click install like a Python mod or something, like then we'll have to think about dependencies or whatever. Or maybe we would just use something like pip, where like that manages all the dependencies for you. Of course, like having a way to just like one-click install plugins, like that might be kind of scary in the first place. But I guess that's a different topic. Yeah, I would think most things would be like that. I figure, most plugins, maybe I'm wrong, but my assumption is that most plugins would be doing things like adding a mini game or overriding something that like other things aren't going to be overriding. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that by default a plugin wouldn't need to like worry about load order. So having some reasonable default would be good. Like I would, like what's in there now, where it's like it's just based on, the plugin's string name or whatever. Maybe there would be a better way to do that. Again, we want to avoid like plugins changing their name for technical reasons. So like, I wonder if there would be like a better default. Like I guess, yeah, I don't know. Is there any other? It's not their name, but it's like their module name. But yeah, I wonder if there's some way we could order them that wouldn't encourage people to rename them or things like that. That would be like a good default order. Can you explain what you mean by decorator mods? So you're using like function decorators or to kind of override things cleanly, or like what do you mean by that? Okay. Cool. Yeah, on that topic is like the thing you had posted before, just asking about how to make modding cleaner. My thought, and this would be worth talking about more, but my thought would be having some sort of, I don't know if I'd mentioned this before, but like just a way to kind of define like base classes. Like this is, the game expects there to be something here that provides like a chat window. Like define like a base class for what the chat window needs to do. And then, we could just make it really easy for plugins to like plug in their own override for that. Be like, hey, for the chat window, use this class instead of the default class. Or, for this particular bit of functionality, use my own, this class in the plugin instead of the default one. So just having like a few functions to be able to kind of, expose those plugin points, and then to just like pick up the whichever, thing is been overridden, just like, hey, give me whichever, in Python code, it would be basically like, hey, give me whichever, like chat window class has been set by plugins or whatever. And that would just give you like the default chat window, if not, or it would, plugins would have some easy way to just say like, hey, use this chat window instead of the default one. Use this X instead of the default one. So in general, that's that sounds sort of similar to the decorator idea, just maybe at like a higher level. But that was kind of my idea of just like, if we could start providing like official like plugin points, like where plugins could basically like replace bits of the game functionality. There'd probably be one of those for like the main menu or something, just like, hey, this is what the main menu needs to be able to do. Like, go ahead and replace all of it if you want, and then like that stuff would just hopefully behave seamlessly. Yeah, stuff like that. Like basically the idea where, just starting to give ourselves ways to kind of change things without having to like rip pieces out of the game and replace them with, duct tape and wax or whatever the phrase is, where you're doing something kind of hacky. I know when modding started, it was more just like, people would take the, yourself included, would just kind of, basically replace the system scripts with like modded ones, which, I mean, you can do anything that way, but the downside is like if the system scripts change, then you have to like reapply all of your customizations and stuff, and so it's like that's not especially maintainable. So it'd be great, yeah, if we can move forward towards something that's a bit more organized. So yeah, starting to get a system in place like that, like that's something I'd love to do at some point soon-ish. Yeah, there's stuff I'd love to open up. Just, I don't know, certain things like soundtrack playback and stuff like that. Being able to like make it easy for people to, if they want to add support for, some particular media player on Windows or something like that. Make stuff like that really easy to do with like a plugin. Just kind of like hook the game into external things or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Machine learning stuff. That'd be fun. Or like have it or hook it into, I don't know, those crazy like light systems you see, where it's like you can like set up lights around your room that like respond to the video game you're playing. Like that'd be cool. Some company actually reached out to me about that like a few years ago. I forgot, like Philips or whatever one of those companies that makes like the crazy light systems. I think I was busy at the time and I didn't have time to like respond or something, but I thought that could have been kind of cool. What's G-Hub? Do I know G-Hub? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that. That'd be fun. Which also, on a side note, gets me back to like we need force feedback at some point on the input APIs. So that's, I don't know if that'd be something. I mean, I feel like we'd want that built in as a core feature, and that not like as a mod or something. But that just reminded me of that. Yeah, I'm sure there's been suggestions for that for a long time. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, we definitely want that. Just need to make it happen here at some point. Improving the docs. Are you talking about like the Python docs? Yeah, so yeah, you're totally welcome to do that. The docs right now, they've been switched over to use like PyDoc. So Dwilliwilik implemented the PyDoc generation stuff like about a year ago or something like that. It used to be all some like bespoke custom thing that would generate docs just using a bit of custom Python code. But now it's all going through PyDoc, so it's all kind of like automated. But yeah, I think the downside is it basically, like, it'd be great if it had more like examples or like a table of contents or like, some like high level organization to it. So like if you'd want to start playing with that, and see if there's something we could start putting together to kind of like organize it or add more, like you're saying, details and examples, that would be great. If you poke around to see how that stuff gets made, just go into, if you go into the make file and then yeah, look for docs. There's like a make docs command, so you can see what it does. It just runs tools p command gen docs, which is p command is of course the little Python script that does random bits. So let's follow the rabbit hole, see where this goes. Gen docs. Okay, so from BA tools p command, import gen docs. Let's dive into that. BA tools docs.generate. So batools.docs. Yeah, so if you dive, kind of follow where that goes, you know, it basically comes down to this. This is what it's doing. Does some pdoc stuff. I guess it just uses the pdoc module directly. Okay. But yeah, maybe there's more, you know, more we could add here, or we could add some custom code to, or, you know, just define some static files or something that would get compiled into the documentation or something like that. Or feel free to experiment with completely different document generators or whatever. Like any, you know, anything is helpful, I think. So thanks in advance. Draw a simple component that can make a region node visible. This goes into a side note. I really, when I first wrote the game, like the game's switched graphics engines like 3 times. The first graphics engine, it was like OpenGL 1.5 or, you know, like very early OpenGL stuff, which was like kind of a different API. And then I updated it to like OpenGL 2, which is like the, you know, slightly newer stuff. It's kind of out of date now, so it needs to be rewritten probably, but and also needs to be rewritten in different other languages or other APIs like Metal or Vulkan. But anyway, the old graphics engine, it actually had a debug mode where it would draw things, you know, like you'd see the rigid bodies like drawn as their shapes, you know, spheres and circles and stuff, or cubes. And so like that was actually, you know, a lot better for debugging and seeing what was happening. But when I upgraded, like I redid the graphics engine to make it work on mobile, and so like a lot of that stuff got lost because I really didn't need it anymore at the time. I was more just like porting the engine to a, you know, I wasn't like needing to debug that stuff. But anyway, the point I'm making is that would be great to have that mode again, and I hope to add that at some point where it's just like we can flip into like debug mode and just see like only graphics primitives, only, you know, spheres and boxes, and we could have regions, like show where the region is, you know, just being able to like visualize things better. I know right now you have to kind of like do hacky stuff, like you could, you know, add some locator nodes to kind of show where your region probably is, but like, that's kind of dumb. So, you know, I think we should totally have like a debug draw mode where we could, you know, just to show things that are useful for, you know, tweaking physics and getting the gameplay working well and stuff. But yeah, you can do like tricks like this, is like making locator nodes in each corner of your region. So for now, that's probably the best thing, is just kind of stuff like that. You just have to do math, I think. It's just like based on how big your region is, you know, just plug in that math and, you know, throw some offsets in there. You know, it'll take you could come up with like a function to do it, basically just to, you know, write that function once, basically show my region. So yeah, I would, trying to put that together, I would build like, you know, some region, like write a function, make a region, have it make like a sound when something touches the region, and then, you know, just like test it to make sure your locator nodes are lining up with where the region actually is. And then from then on, you can just rely on those locator nodes. Yeah, for right now, there isn't a hack. I mean, you could add that. Like, if you go into, like, if you have access, if you feel like compiling the source code, like that wouldn't be too hard to add. You just have to find that node. So source Ballistica, that would be in. I've been away from this stuff for 2 weeks, so it's like I feel like I've forgotten everything. It's like that meme of like Gandalf where he's like, I have no memory of this place. Okay, so scene, node, region node. So I don't think this is doing any drawing. This probably, like maybe back in the day, this maybe used to do some drawing in like debug mode. Oh, okay. Actually, so you can see this debug stuff still sort of is in here. So here's where the region is told to draw itself. And so it's telling the region, the rigid body that actually makes up the region is telling it to draw itself, which should only like, I don't know if that actually shows up in any case anymore. I think that probably just might be a no op. But that's one thing you could do is implement this body draw function. So let's actually see what this is doing. So rigid body draw. So that would be under dynamics, I believe. If we go to, yeah, rigid body. So yeah, it looks like there's no code left in here. So this probably used to, so you could actually fill something in here, and maybe just kind of hack something in to show up. I don't know if the game still has a debug draw mode. Let me check. There used to be something like F7 would toggle debug mode, or F6, or one of the F keys. I might have taken that out though, because since it's not really, now that's manual camera, network debug, gibberish mode. Okay, yeah, it doesn't, I'm not seeing graphics debug mode. So it must have been so non-functional that I took it out at some point, but we could, I mean, we probably should put something like that back in at some point, just so then we could basically see all the rigid bodies and debug stuff better. So if anyone wants to start playing with that, I'm happy to, point out places where it could go. Oh, interesting. I mean, the reason I left run, or the reason I originally made run as a button was just because it was so difficult to navigate. A lot of the levels with like thin corridors and where it's easy to fall off the edge. I just didn't want to make it like even easier by making running like automatic. But maybe that's not an issue in some cases, or it'd be interesting to check this out if you have it handy or something. Okay, yeah, that'd be fun to try. But yeah, the run system is definitely a little bit like an advanced topic. So yeah, if we could simplify it, that could be cool. Or that could be, maybe that can be an option where it's just like advanced players could turn off auto run or something like that, or we could just have it on for everyone, or definitely an interesting idea. Cool, cool. Yeah, I think that's probably the case with a number of things where it's like you don't realize what you're missing. So first update of 2023, and once I'm now that I'm back at work as of a few days ago, is what I'd like to do. What I'm hoping to do is get the other remaining versions of the game all up to date on the latest like 1.7 builds. Like now that they're actually starting to like break compatibility a little bit, like with the V2 accounts is going to be it's sort of like drawing a line in the sand between like old stuff and new stuff. Like there's going to start to be a lot of new stuff that requires V2 accounts. So I'd like to make that available for everybody. So there's a few versions of the game out there, like namely the Mac version and the Oculus version, which is VR, but it's also, you can actually play it 2D if you buy it on the Oculus store. Or the Meta store, I guess it's probably called nowadays. But I'd like to kind of revisit those and get those up to date, because both of those versions are still on like 1.4, so they're like super out of date. So that's kind of my first official goal, is to just get any maintained version of the game like up to date with 1.7, and then we can kind of start to let the V1 account system slowly like fade into obscurity. So yeah, so that's probably what I'll be doing, along with a little bit of there's a little bit of like network stuff that still needs to be cleaned up. I'm still I think I always show the log thing. There's still like far too many log warnings in my master server. Why am I not? Okay. Checking it out here. Yeah, like in the last 1 hour, there's been 175 warnings, which is, yeah. I'd prefer that number to be like 10 or less. Like that would be great. So, so that's probably something that I'll be messing with, is just trying to, all this kind of ugly chatter, getting rid of a lot of this stuff. Most of this stuff is harmless, but it's still just like, it's something that's not working 100% correctly. It's like someone established some sort of like communication channel with one of my server nodes, and then that wasn't like shut down cleanly or something like that. So I just want to, because all that stuff is like so low level and such like a basic building block that everything will be built on top of. Like I want that stuff to be like working like as perfectly as possible. I know I've mentioned that before, but so that's another thing I'll be doing. Okay, yeah, I've gotten a smattering of emails from like people running into issues upgrading their accounts or things like that. So yeah, if anyone is running into stuff like that, please steer them my way, or I'll try to get through my like backlog of emails and see if I can help people out if people are having problems or whatever. I'm sure there's going to be some things that people just maybe my documentation isn't clear enough or something. Like I had someone who didn't know what a V2 account was, so they upgraded their account, and then they immediately deleted it because they're like, I don't need this V2 stuff. But that means they just like deleted their account. So it's like, what do I do in that case? I don't know. I know a lot of places it's like it's a law that people need to be able to like delete any account data that you have for them. So previously, I've just like, if I got an email from someone saying like, hey, please delete my account, I'd have to like go into my database in the old like V1 server and like look for their account and like delete the database entries and like clean things up by hand, which was took a bit of my time. So so I'm happy with the V2 stuff. I just have like a button like, hey, delete my account. But there's part of me that's a little worried that like how many people are gonna accidentally delete their accounts and then email me like, I didn't mean to do that. Ooh, Rift CV1, nice. Yeah, I still have, there's like, the game is still on the PC Rift store, or the PC Oculus store. I don't know if they would accept it. I'd be curious if Oculus would accept it on like the Quest store, or if it's not like a VR enough game. because they reached out to me originally to get it on the Gear VR when they were first doing that. But that, that the original Gear VR like came with like a gamepad and stuff, so like they were looking for some of those type games. But now it's like everything is like motion control hands and stuff like that. So it's like it's not really a VR style game, but it'd be cool if they would accept it. We'll see. I know I every now and then I bust out my VR headset and compile the compile the VR version and just make sure it's still working. I haven't done any like deep dives with it to make sure everything's behaving itself, but it should still at least be building and running basically. So hopefully it's not a big issue to get the latest updates in there. What do you mean? What makes the game run in VR mode? You mean like what? Technically, or I mean it's like built into. There's a specific version built for Oculus, which has like build flags in there, which basically say like this is a VR version. So, and then on the Oculus version, it will pass like a command line argument. There's something like 2D mode or something. Like when the game is supposed to run in just like regular 2D window mode, like the game will get, like the Oculus Store will actually call the game with like an argument like -2D mode. And so the game has to look out for that. And in that case, then it instead of like initting the 3D or the VR version, it just inits, the regular version. Yeah, it is neat to like see all the, I mean the VR version is basically just the regular game, just you can move your head around, so it's kind of neat to see some of the usual stuff like in 3D. I totally got sucked into working on that. Like it was so much fun to just like see the stuff like on a table in front of you. It was just like, oh, this is so cool. So I spent way too much time just playing with the VR version. So I should like keep it running. Oh yeah, yeah, and for like bomb throwing and stuff, yeah, I totally agree. Like depth perception is being able to like see your bomb trajectories and stuff. It is actually pretty useful. I think the one main update that I need to do on the Rift version is it still doesn't even support like the touch controllers, which like every Rift and Quest and everything for years now is only shipped with those touch controllers. So I need to like support them. Right now, the original Rift shipped with like a Xbox One controller, like a standard gamepad sort of thing. So like that's the game kind of expects that to be there, but I don't think anyone plays VR games with those type controllers anymore. But yeah, I have a Quest 2. Actually, I have two Quest 2s. My girlfriend has one and I have one, so we play VR golf sometimes, or fishing or stupid stuff like that. But yeah, it'd be great to get the game going on that. And I was kind of surprised. Like the game ran pretty well on the original like Gear VR, which was way before the Quest and stuff. That was just like Samsung phones stuck into a headset. And so it was kind of neat. I mean, basically that's, in a way, it's like twice as much work for the game because instead of rendering one view of the action, you have to render it twice. So it's like, in a way, it's twice as much work, at least for the GPU. But it still ran pretty well on like phone level hardware. So I was happy. And Quest 2 was way more powerful than those were back in the day, so it probably would run pretty well on there. I know the game is getting a little more resource intensive, like all the Python stuff is getting heavier. I mean, it's like more Python code and more annotations and whatever, and newer versions of Python are probably a little bit more memory intensive and stuff, but it shouldn't be a huge difference. It's tricky. Like part of me wants to like really update the game's graphics in terms of like, taking advantage of modern hardware or making it actually like take advantage of like PC hardware or something a little bit, like fancier shadows or higher res models and all that sort of stuff. But in a way, there's still some reasons to like keep it minimal. Also, you know, things like we're saying, like the Quest 2 is still basically phone hardware. You know, it needs to render it twice, and so it's like the simpler the better in that case. So it's like there's some reasons still to keep everything like kind of bare minimum. But yeah, I would love to do Bomb Squad RTX, or you know, like a super pimped out version of the graphics. Especially because I haven't really touched the graphics engine in like 10 years, which makes me very sad. Just making a typical plugin. Yeah, I think that's basically it. Like if you can build something that just, you know, I mean, you know how to do custom assets, so you know, build something that uses your own custom assets, and then once the asset system is working, you can just kind of migrate those to an asset bundle or asset package or whatever they're called, or whatever they will be called. I mean, that's basically what I'm planning to do, is just like migrate most of the game's built-in stuff to asset packages. But I want to get the first thing on 1.8 is the scene versioning stuff. So basically, you know, kind of getting the existing stuff kind of siloed away into its own little like scene v1 silo. So it can just kind of, most of that code can just kind of continue living exactly as it is, you know, in its own little world without downloadable assets and stuff. And then, you know, scene v2, like that'll be not a clean room, but like kind of a branch of that'll start to add like the custom assets and maybe clean up some old stuff and all that. So that'll be where the fun begins. But the first order of business is kind of preserving the status quo, as they say. Yeah, totally. Me too. I mean, honestly, that's kind of like that's what I'm excited about, is kind of just be able to like generalize this stuff and make it so we could spin it off into different little mini games or something, or, you know, like different, I mean, different apps entirely if we wanted. Like there's a system that I will try to make it open source at some point, but it's called Spinoff. It's, so this is Ballistica Internal. This is like my internal version of the library, which, as you know, it's basically the same as on GitHub. It just has all this extra junk. It's kind of, a lot of it is a mess. And some of it is just like for privacy reasons, you know, like some of the Android stuff isn't public. There's, like the Mac Xcode build, stuff like that, you know, those aren't in the public repo. But anyway, one of the things in here is under tools, there's this thing called Spinoff, which, where's my doc? So Spinoff is basically this big like Python script or Python system, which basically takes the entire game repo, and then it will essentially kind of like spin it off into a different location and do some filtering and strip parts out or whatever. And you know, it's basically the way that you can take like the Ballistica repo and use it to kind of like come up with a completely independent game if you wanted, or a completely independent app. And so this is actually what gets used to take Ballistica, the Ballistica internal or Ballistica repo, and come up with like Bomb Squad, which right now the only difference is instead of Ballistica Core, it's called Bomb Squad. But that's the whole purpose of this, is that basically it can filter different things. So, you know, it could filter out a lot of the game scripts, or, you know, it could insert some custom scripts, or, you know, whatever. But basically you wind up with a completely like separate app directory that contains all these build files and everything, except instead of Ballistica Core, it's Bomb Squad or my funny spin-off game or whatever. So like I said, it'd be fun to make that public at some point, and then people could actually use this to just like easily spin off completely separate like standalone games if they wanted. Yeah, it's independent, as in like, let's see, like for me on the just the regular CMake version, like Ballistica Core stores its config in just a home/.ballistica core directory. And then when you spin this off and create bomb squad, it basically just filters anywhere that's Ballistica Core becomes bomb squad. So that means bomb squad stores all of its stuff in the /.bomb squad directory. Or if you spun it off into something else like my awesome game, that would be stuff like that. So it's basically, the idea is it just takes Ballistica Core and bakes it into some completely different app. So that's, yeah. So if you did want to do something, it could completely exist independent of Bomb Squad or Ballistica Core or anything else. I was trying to come up with like a good name. Ballistica Core is, I was just looking for something that would be like a unique string that could basically get like search and replaced with another string. So it's just like a generic kind of app name, but it's something that wouldn't show up like in random places where, and accidentally get replaced. I didn't want to just use like Ballistica because, we don't want to replace every instance of Ballistica. So that's what the Ballistica Core is about. It's just basically anywhere in these build files, anywhere in source files, anywhere in anything where it says Ballistica Core, that'll get replaced with Bomb Squad or, whatever the name of your spin-off project is. Yeah, exactly. People making mods for mods. Yes, it gets into very like Inception sort of. At the end of the day, though, it's still like, even if you did like a spin-off project, it would still technically be like just the Ballistica engine under the hood. So, it'd be like technically a Ballistica mod, that could run on different games or different apps, unless it's using, like specific like code that only exists in one like flavor of the app or something. So anyway, yeah, that's stuff I'm using now, but it's not like, I would say it's not quite ready for public consumption, but I'd love to get that out there at some point. Especially if I can get the open source portion done to where like you can build the game 100% open source, then I think the spin-off stuff would be useful on top of that. Then you could just download Ballistica from GitHub, set up a spin-off name, and then spit out your own app from that. Oh, bugs. Yeah, this goes back to that topic of, like people using physics in funny ways, and even if it wasn't necessarily a feature, people are so used to it and like learn to use it that it's like, it'd be interesting like changing the physics, like to see how upset people would get that like, oh, my triple jump spin maneuver no longer works, blah blah blah. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like, I hope that we can kind of evolve some of the physics and some of the gameplay in the future. Or, maybe I don't know what would make sense. Like, we could have different like versions of spaz or something like that. Like spaz behavior version 2 or something. Like, particular games that you'd play would use like the newer version of spaz or something. Or, because like I don't know if we'd want to change it for everyone or for like old games or I don't know what the best solution would be for that kind of stuff. Like keeping old games working, like glitches and quirks and all, but also being able to kind of move things forward. That's one advantage to like if you're writing a sequel or something to a game, is that basically you have kind of a clean slate that you can kind of re-implement the physics and change stuff. And some people are going to be upset, but like then they can still go back and play the original game if they want, and it'll still be how they remember. But with a game like this, or with like Bomb Squad situation, where it's more like I don't plan on making a sequel, quote unquote. It's more just like evolving the thing forwards through time. Like, how do we do stuff like that? Like how do we evolve the physics without upsetting people or whatever. Oh, interesting. So what do you mean by that? By that strategies that over centralize the game? Oh, interesting. Okay. And yes, more characters is definitely no one's arguing that. That's definitely a goal. 1.8 is all about asset packs and things like that, which will make it a lot easier to make more characters. So that's definitely on the radar or on the schedule. Yeah, so this goes to the same topic in terms of like I'm wondering what the solution for stuff like this is. You know, if people feel that I mean, we've talked about this before. Like, what would be the best way to kind of move the game past this or like change things? Um, like for a scene v2, or you know, if we have an opportunity to like make a clean break with the physics and change some stuff, I guess we could just change it for scene v2, and hopefully people would be happy with it, or and then everything would slowly migrate over as people start to adapt or adopt scene v2. Yes, this profile picture and V2 accounts, something like that would be great. I know right now it's just that ugly V2 icon, and that is definitely temporary. That's basically just to show people like, hey, this person is updated, like their username is unique now, or their tag. But as I was saying, I want to get all the supported games updated so that everyone is using V2 accounts, and then we can kind of sunset V1 accounts. And then once we can kind of flip the switch and then limit only V2 accounts to playing online, or whatever, then we can start to do custom icons or custom avatars or whatever for those accounts and have some more fun with it instead of that ugly V2 icon. So that's definitely on the radar. It's just got to kind of wait until the V2 is completely ubiquitous. Hello, Halox. Oh yeah, we definitely aware of this. We're not going to allow people to just upload their own images because we all know where that would go. I need to. That's another thing on my to-do list is to add some sort of moderation. I would assume maybe like the mods here, or we'd have some way where we could like tag people as V2 moderators, and then they would have the ability to flag bad words or abusive like V2 account names, and then we could force those people to generate new names or whatever. I mean, we could supply like preset pony pictures. We just need to make sure they're approved and like, actual ponies and not other things. In general, though, I mean, I'd love to start playing with, and there's something that needs to be done, like maybe kind of slowly and carefully, but just the idea of, having different icons or, tags or little medals or something that would show up aside your V2 name, or, just something where it's like, maybe if you come in the top 100 for a season or something, you get a custom icon that you can show off. Just kind of make it a little bit more kind of meaningful. If you're number 1 in a season, you get a pony picture. Yeah, that's an option. Like, yeah, presumably the Google Play pictures would be, sanitized or whatever. So like we could allow that. That's a bit complicated, but well, that would be doable. I don't want to confuse people that like it's a little confusing right now where you use your Google Play account to log into your V2 account, but it's not like the same. Even though it gives you the same name, it's like not the same, not like strictly the same. So I don't want people to think like, oh, why did the game account not update? I changed my Google Play account name and the game isn't synced, even though it has my picture. It's like weird little issues like that. So Mickey Rock, do you have so you're saying your favorite solution is ones that don't take problems away, but recontextualize it so that's okay. Do you have an example of that? Okay, interesting. Oh yeah. Yeah, I could see both of those points where yeah, it's like that would be kind of a hard thing to explain to newbies and party game type players. But yeah, raising the skill ceiling is good too. Though I guess it's a balance though too. Like if you raise the skill ceiling too much, then like new players are going to get completely like obliterated by like veteran players, and then it's like not as much fun for new players. So it seems like there's maybe like a happy medium where it's like you can get better than other players, but you don't want to be able to get like so much better that the game is just not fun for newbies. Safer run punch. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, this keeps going back to like the same question in my mind is like how, like all these awesome ideas from yourself and from other folks have had is like what would be a smart way that we could incorporate some of these in the future while still like keeping the game balanced, or also avoiding like if other people have good ideas too, like we don't want to just like allow everything in there, or like what, yeah. Just kind of questions of like how to evolve the game, like I said, without changing it too much for people or upsetting people, that their cool spinny maneuver went away or something like that. So yeah, we could do stuff like that, like beta branches or early access. I'd love to start. I mean, from my end, I'd love to get the scene versioning stuff in there. So then maybe we could have like a scene V1 would be the game as it is now, like all the existing physics, and then maybe scene V2. We could start kind of experimenting with it a little bit, like while it's in development, or we could even just like maintain like a scene experimental, or like scene future, just something where it's like this weird kind of scratch pad of crazy ideas, and yeah, just kind of, or scene pro or something. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, that would be great if we can, yeah, start to get something where we can experiment with things a bit and pull in the stuff that works well. So it's almost more like a coming up with a good policy or something, But there are technical bits that are required too. So that'll be my first job, is to get those technical bits in place so we can start doing stuff like that. I know I mentioned before just like how much of a pain it is right now. If we wanted to change the physics, for everyone, we have to make sure everyone is updated to a certain version of the game, or have some really like tricky code that does the physics in two different ways based on, if you're connected to a newer server, or, stuff like that, which is just like that makes the code really ugly and unmaintainable. So that's why I'm hoping the scene stuff will just make that clearer, where it's like, okay, we're using this scene version, this is how it behaves. Let's change the behavior here and not worry about the old behavior. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, I don't want to, speculate too much, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that would work if it's something where like we can have, people could like host servers with like, this is using experimental gameplay, or V3 experimental. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just have some. It's almost like looking at, having this stuff be kind of open sourced and kind of community sourced. It's almost like looking at, if you look at how like Python works, they have the PEP proposals, like Python enhancement proposals, is like people come up with these ideas they want to add to Python, and then they get debated and written up, and then at some point they're like accepted, and then they get pulled into the next version of Python and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting, like looking at like the macro picture of how like big systems like that evolve. Oh, good night. It's Vismay. It also gets me wondering then, like, would we want like multiple experimental versions, or like how, like, do we want to make it easier for people to like totally change the physics and come up with their own like modded physics, basically, just like, oh, in this case, in this version, there's no running, but whatever. I'm just wondering from a player's perspective, if you're like playing different games and like the physics are changing a lot between several of the games, like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is that confusing? Do we want to allow that for like the sake of experimentation and customization, or is that like just going to confuse people? Like, why why is my character turn slower than I'm used to in this particular game? So yeah, so maybe keeping stuff limited. Then also is the question of like if we do decide on changes, like do we want? I would assume older games would still behave in the older way or something. It's one of those like managing complexity problems, because like if we adjust the physics and then just like apply that like in all cases, you know, it could like break certain mini games or something like that. Like older, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Stuff like this, it's hard to like speculate, because it's one of those things where I think things become a lot clearer once you're actually like, just like in the trenches doing it, and you see like, oh, okay, this is how it works. This is how we should, you know, adjust it. Yeah, that would be cool. Like if we have a way, yeah, where people can play like experimental versions of the game and then just ask them for their feedback after, or like at least direct them to a Discord channel, or you know, something like that, where it's like you kind of, yeah, that would be great just to get people's thoughts. Yeah. I know there's like technical things that I'd love to have for you know, like as more things are getting like cloud based, you know, if you put if you set up some cloud game that people can play and then they play that, it'd be great to see like, you know, any log errors that like anyone ran into playing that particular cloud game or whatever. Just like gathering those together in an easy to see place. It's like I look at stuff like that, like if the game errors, I have it, you know, I wind up like seeing some like logs on my server and stuff, but just it'd be great if other people could see that, you know? So like if you put out some mini game and you know there's a particular error in it, you'd be able to like easily see that like, oh, 35 people ran into this error, or there's this log message that keeps happening. You know, just some way to like get your game all polished. But yeah, so yeah, similar stuff for yeah, player feedback would be great too. Or any sort of stats, yeah, like did the people stay for the whole game, or did everyone leave after 20 seconds? You do something like offer people like a tiny bit of in-game currency if they give their thoughts on the game. Of course, then stuff like that runs the risk of then people don't actually give real feedback. They just like say whatever's quickest to get the currency. It's sort of like the like offering the reward of, I've mentioned this before, like offering the reward of being in the credits if you do a translation for the game. There's been like so many people who've like translated one thing probably just to get in the credits, and it's like that's whatever. Yeah, that's local party easier to make. It's I mean the big, I mean technically it's part of the plan for 1.9, but it's something I mean I'm already working on the tech for it, like that whole like all the crazy server stuff I'm always showing, you know, like this network of connections and all that stuff. That will be part of the squad system, which is basically making it easier to, you know, just invite a few people into your group and play games with that group, you know, against other groups or just among yourselves or whatever. Like that's kind of the foundation for how things will be, you know, played going forward at some point. So yes, I totally agree with that, making parties easier to make. Yeah, that's true. Like an up, yeah, a yes no star voting for. Also, that sort of thing could be useful for, you know, if we start to really like allow a lot of people to make mini games and things like that, just being able to gather some feedback on that, you know, just to kind of surface the games people are playing the most or having the most fun at or rating the highest or whatever. Like so basic sort of things like that would be great. Yeah, totally. And I think, yeah, if we can come up with a way where we can, yeah, get fresh players' opinions, like that is, I think, super useful. I know for me, like working in film and also, working in games a bit, it's like there's this, you kind of get this sense of, blindness to something if you've been looking at the same thing or if you're working on something especially, but also even if you've just been like playing the same thing for a while, you kind of stop seeing it fresh, and it's hard to give like unbiased, uh, your unbiased thoughts on it, because it's like your initial feelings about something, are so much different than your feelings on it after playing it for 4 hours, So it'd be great to have an easy way to hopefully get some new players like trying things and then just get their thoughts like, hey, what did you think? Yeah. I know for me, like working in film, like we'd have reviews, which is, when you've been working on something like a shot in the movie for a week or something, and then you take it down and you show it to the director or you show it to another person. And it's not that the director or someone is like a better artist than you or has a better eye than you, but I mean, in a lot of cases they do, but I think a lot of the usefulness is like they are seeing it for the first time, and they're seeing it like they can give you their first thoughts, the same as someone seeing it in the movie theater would think, like, oh, that looked good or that looked bad. So it's like after being so close to something, it's like impossible to see it fresh like that. So, I've learned like how important that is just to get those fresh thoughts from people. And yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, a lot of movies do change because it's like people have been working on the movie for a year or two or whatever. It's like, they're very intimately familiar with it, but it's hard for them to see it in the same way that your average movie viewer would. And it doesn't mean that like they have less thoughts on movies than your average movie viewer. It just means that like their thoughts on that particular movie have been like dulled because they're staring at it for a year and a half. Hello, Mr. Mushroom. Oh, maybe. We've been going for like an hour. I'm sure people are still having. Well, I guess I don't know if they are, but there's like time zone issues and stuff. Like I know I was an hour late that one time because like the time changed in the U.S. and I totally forgot that would affect this. So I assume later in the spring we'll have the opposite problem or whatever. I might skip playing today. Like after we're done chatting, I'm probably gonna get back to work just because I feel like I have so much stuff to do. Like it's been fun. Like had a nice holiday and break and whatever for a few weeks, but I'm definitely feeling like oh crap, like I need to get back to work. Oh sure, yeah, yeah. Feel free to send it to me, or if you want to post it and like the anywhere here, maybe the office hours. I feel like I should change that channel name to like Eric's Office or something, because Office Hours, it's more like what this is. It's more just like a particular scheduled thing, whereas like that channel is more just like if you want to chat with me about something. Actually, would you want to give maybe next stream or whatever? Would you want to give like a demo of it? Or you could host a game. We could try to join. Or well, is it? It doesn't require any client-side mods, or it's just a server-side Python mod. Could be cool to try out. Okay. I mean, my lag from over here will be kind of bad, but yeah. Why don't we plan on doing that next time if that's okay with you? Oh my gosh. It's so weird hearing people's voices after, just chatting or emailing for years. I guess that's just how the internet goes. But yeah, that'd be great. Time started the stream. So you mean like 1 hour ago, next Wednesday? Yeah, I started this stream. I mean, it's 10 a.m. for me. It's 10 a.m. I started 9 a.m. So 1 hour ago. If that. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's plan on that. So next week we have a schedule, or we have a. I was over in Poland until, well, and then London for a bit, and London for New Year's, and then got back a few days ago. So I'm still like slightly jet lagged or whatever, but getting back to California time here. Aw. Yeah, I probably am too. I feel like anyone else have any topics? I unfortunately don't have anything cool to show yet, just this weekend, just because I'm kind of just getting back into the spin of working on the game. Lower prices? Oh. Well, as I've talking about monetization and stuff, I mean, I do want to have more stuff you can buy, and I mean, well, maybe we could lower prices at some point. Oh, is it? Oh. I mean, I feel like there's a economic sweet spot where it's like people buy enough. Like if I lower things too much, then I don't make enough money to like keep working on the game. If I raise things too much, then it annoys people and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to find that like spot in the middle. If you do feel like it's too high compared to other games or something, please holler, or please let me know. Issues with V2 accounts. Got Google Play. Oh, interesting. Okay. Is there any chance you could get them to do a like screen capture or something of what they're running into, programmer? Or are there any other like messages showing up on the screen or anything like that? New friend list. There will be a new friend list as part of the squads update. So that'll be technically in 1.9, but maybe it'll start. I'm hoping to maybe at least have like a beta version in 1.8 or 1.7 even, like sometime soon. But yeah, it's there's not really even a friends list right now, so it wouldn't be a new friends list. It would just be a friends list. And the plan is for the game to come to Steam 2.0. So basically 1.8, there's really only like two major updates left. 1.8 is all about asset packs and things like that. So being able to like kind of add new stuff to the game without everyone re-downloading it. 1.9 will be all about moving the game over to squads mode. So basically having like a new squads mode where you invite friends and play against other squads and stuff. That'll be the primary goal of 1.9. And then 2.0, really the only thing on 2.0 is like releasing on different platforms. So the iOS version and the Steam version. So 2.0 will be all about just like finishing the last little bits to get those versions, you know, on par with Android and Mac and the existing versions now. So it'd be a little fuzzy. I'm sure some features from 1.9 will probably show up in 1.8 or 1.7, you know, because I want to get them started and start playing with them. But in general, that's the plan, is 1.8 is assets, 1.9 is squads, 2.0 is platforms. So, yeah, you too, the Mickey Rock. And coin and stuff like that. Like, yeah, as part of the squad system, there'll be kind of a new, like the monetization will be a little different. So there'll probably be like a coin system. It'd be very similar to the current like ticket system, just like a little bit refined. And like one of the main goals is to make it easier to kind of earn stuff through just playing. So like if you're playing squad games or whatever online against other people, you'll be earning tickets or tokens or whatever for that, so that you can unlock stuff that way, instead of like right now it's too limited. Like there's not enough ways to get tickets. So I want to make that more fun. Add a pass. Yeah, still thinking about some idea like a battle pass type thing, or you know, because there has to be some like real money type stuff in the game. So I was thinking like a battle pass could be a way to do that. But yeah, that stuff's a little up in the air. I definitely want to have a big discussion on that. You know, like I was calling it like a monetization manifesto. Just kind of like put my plans out there for how I think that like all the tokens and tickets and unlocking stuff will work if like with squads play, just to get people's thoughts on it. But that's one thought I had, is, you know, having like some sort of battle pass thing, but hopefully doing it in like a non-sleazy way that feels fair to people and doesn't feel, you know, like, I know people have mixed feelings on like battle passes. Some people like totally hate them, and yeah, so we can get people's thoughts. Brawl, yeah, squad pass. Yeah, my again, not to go into too much right now, but my one kind of motivation for thinking about something like a battle pass would be like that would be the one way where you could pay money and like unlock a character immediately. I'd prefer to have like characters and skins and stuff, like everyone would unlock them in the same way. Like even if you're playing a version of the game that doesn't have in-app purchases, that basically like everyone would, you know, earn tickets by playing in-game matches and use those tickets to unlock characters. But, you know, for me, it would still be, I mean, I have to, you know, make money and stuff. So it's like, I feel like it would still be good to have like some way that people could, you know, just pay some money and immediately unlock a, you know, character or something. But without having that be unfair to the, you know, the people playing like the free version of the version of the game that doesn't have in-app purchases. So I was thinking like a battle pass system where like the people playing like the subscription version of the game or the version that doesn't have in-app purchases, they would just automatically have that battle pass, so that, like they would automatically be able to like unlock those characters or whatever. But then like the battle pass would just be a bit of like a way for like the free players to be able to like immediately get a player or immediately get like unlock something by just like, you know, paying a little bit. I don't know. I'm probably not describing that well, but there's kind of a particular reason that I think it could be good, but I'm open. Well, there will be like, yeah. I mean, essentially, I'm designing like I want to design the squad, like the new monetization. I want to design that to work in like two modes. Like one mode will be like a version of the game which is either prepaid, like you know, maybe on, who knows, maybe on Steam it wouldn't be like a free to play game. It probably will be, but like on certain platforms, like if the game winds up on like Apple Arcade, for instance, if you're familiar with Apple Arcade, basically games on Apple Arcade can't have in-app purchases, and they can't have like any of that type stuff, like ads and in-app purchases, which I kind of like. I kind of like that, you know, it makes a game like nice and clean without any of that stuff. So I'm trying to make the game so that it can work in a situation like that. So like on Apple Arcade, basically, you'd play online matches, you'd get coins or tokens for doing that, and then you'd use that to unlock stuff. So kind of like an old school, pre-free to play model. But then I'd also, the game already exists in like Google Play or other free to play places. So like it needs to. Like there needs to be, equivalent stuff. I'm trying to, basically design it so that it can work in a free-to-play situation too. And so that's where I'm trying to think like things like battle passes or something where it's like, it basically unlocks the same stuff that the Apple Arcade people already have, but it just, it's something you'd have to pay once a month or, whenever, or once every season or something to like, it's almost like the prepaid version of the game, except like a pay-as-you-go. An installment plan sort of thing, if that makes sense. But what I'm trying to avoid is like, I don't want to, because I want the game to work equally well in like Apple Arcade or like a subscription service as the free version. Like I don't want one to have an advantage over the other. That means like what the game won't have is it won't have like a super cool skin that you can unlock for like $1 bajillion or something. Because, like the super cool skin you'll be able to unlock by like grinding a bit or whatever, like achieving something cool, but neither version of the game will have something where it's like, oh, pay $40 and get this cool skin. So like I want to avoid that type stuff, which is why I'm thinking like things like battle passes or something where it's like a little bit of a motivation to pay something every now and then, but not like the crappy like $40 skin sort of thing or something. I hope some of that's making sense. Again, I want to write all this down and get people's thoughts on it, but cool effects to the skins. I'd love to do that. I'm hoping we'll have to see what the 1.8 like asset system allows me to do. But yeah, I'd love to be able to do cool effects. Or I'm trying to think about that. I like Fortnite and games like that. They definitely have cool shaders and neat things like that. So I'd love to kind of be able to do that, or more physicsy things like hanging off the characters or something. Just stuff that looks cool. Obviously, it doesn't affect the gameplay, but it just looks cool. Or yeah, like a character on fire or something. I mean, who knows? Oh yeah, emotes, of course. That would be great. But as I mentioned before, I do want to have the game basically, however the monetization works, I want it to just be for like cosmetic stuff, like cool looking characters and emotes and things like that. Like I don't want, I'd like to get rid of the stuff in there now, like continues and stuff that affects gameplay, or not being able to create playlists. Like I don't like that. I mean, it pays the bills, like I did have a measurable, I added some of those restrictions because I needed to like get my income up a little bit because it was starting to drop at some point. And like that didn't have a measurable effect. Like, so, it did help my income. I gotta keep this sustainable so I can keep paying the bills and keep working on the game. But I didn't like, I'm not happy having to like charge people for playlists and stuff. I'd prefer people to pay for stuff that's just fun, like characters and, visual stuff, as opposed to gameplay stuff. So trail effect could be cool. We'll see. I'd love to. I mean, it's going to be a little while before 1.8 is done, but I'm looking forward to when that happens. Like just taking a little time and making some fun character variations or things like that. Like that'd be a lot of fun. I went to art school. I love like the art side of things and the visual side of things. Like I worked in movies for almost 10 years doing like visual effects. I love all that like visual artistry type stuff. And I feel a little bad I haven't gotten to do that in a while. I've been coding like network stuff and account stuff and all this, kind of technical stuff. I mean, it's very important and it's a requirement to get the game to where, we want it to be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to do a bit more of the visual stuff. Decoration accessory. You mean like for characters or something? Like little things you could like attach to the characters or something? That could be fun, maybe. I mean, that's an interesting topic. Like, I don't want to make it too like mix and matchy. 'Cause I think it's still good to have characters like look unique. You know, like a particular character, like you can identify it from a distance. And if you make things too like interchangeable or too customizable, then you might have like, you know, someone's gonna like have a character with like a top hat and wings and like duck feet and boxing gloves, or you know, it's like people are gonna customize it and come up with like completely random looking stuff, which is, you know, in a way that's fun, but it's also, I think the downside of that is that it makes things hard to identify like as you're playing or as you're looking, you know, visually, then like the stuff starts to blend together. Does that make sense? So I think like maybe it's a balancing act to where like maybe there's certain accessories you can buy for certain characters or something, but I don't know if I'd want to like allow wings for like all characters, or, you know, like a wizard hat for like any character, you know what I mean? But maybe like individual characters could have like swappable accessories. That could be cool. Going back to, yeah, like if you have like the wizard character, maybe you could like change his hat for a few different wizard hats or something that would like make him look different, but not that different. But yeah, see, I don't know if I'd want like Spaz with a wizard hat. We'd have to think about it. But I know, like, for me, that's my pet peeve is, you know, some games, if there's too much going on and like too many different elements and stuff, it just becomes hard to like identify things. Um, and we need Mini Penguin, of course. I know this is... Regardless, Mini Penguin has to happen. Or yeah, we could just have like a whole like baby model or something, like Mini Penguin, Mini Spaz. But I feel like Mini Penguin would be different, because Mini Penguin, would be just like one thing, like bouncing around, you know? It wouldn't need like arms and legs. It would just be like a circle almost. Just like totally cartoony and goofy looking. I think, unfortunately, I'm going to skip playtime. You all can play today, but I probably have to get back to work here in a few minutes. I just like got so much stuff I want to get to. But I'm down to play next time. I should be. Ideal battle pass, fine if it doesn't grant you any competitive advantage. Yeah, if there is a battle pass, like it would purely be about like unlocking skins. It would just be something where it's like this allows you to unlock some skins by playing games, basically. It would basically be like I'm saying, that it would be the same skins or the same things that like the people on like the Apple Arcade version or the subscription version of the game that they were unlocking. So it wouldn't give you any advantage or disadvantage over them. It would just be like a slight requirement that, you know, you unlock that battle pass once a season. And so that would be just kind of like one of the ways that free-to-play players would, you know, basically pay for the game. All right, well, why don't you guys all play that, and I think I will wrap up for the day. I'll go ahead and get this on YouTube as normal, and then I will get to work on server stuff and the other things I was mentioning. So it's been fun all. Have a good day, and I'll plan to talk to you all next week. Hey, cuz, thank you. So, all right, peace out, everyone.